This brings us to the written tutorial steps 27 through 31 if you're following along. In steps 27 through 31, we're basically going to be creating an outer stroke on the whole Rubik's Cube, and the way we're going to do that is with these sort of dark faces behind here. Zoom in close and strategically select, holding down Shift, each of the dark faces that are on the Rubik's Cube. You gotta get really close sometimes. There it is. We're going to Control C. And I'm going to hide that layer. In fact, on a new layer, I'm going to call Behind. We're going to Control F and paste those in. Now you can unify these or unite them with the Pathfinder. And you'll see there's some gaps here. How I take care of that is just grab the pen tool and pick a whole different color here, maybe like yellow. And basically just go in and paint over every place that there is a gap in the cube. And you can do it in a big blob. It can be nice and messy. Select everything and then unite that. I'll color it black again. So you can see there's there's no holes here, no gaps. That's exactly what you want. And you're going to put a couple strokes on this in your appearance palette. Now, if you don't have the appearance palette showing, you have to go to Window, and then Appearance. Shift F6 is apparently what it is. And in the appearance palette, we're going to be adding some strokes to this cube. So first we're going to use the stroke palette to put in the first stroke here, which is a 4-pixel stroke. What color? White. Now if you zoom in close, you'll notice that these strokes sort of have a hard edge. I like to just give them these rounded edges here in the stroke palette to make it a little bit more easy to look at. And now in the appearance palette, you're going to click on this little stroke icon again. It says Add New Stroke. Click on that, and you see now there's 2 strokes in this appearance, and the one underneath we're going to make is going to be an actual 10-point black stroke. So here we'll pick black, and you can see what that's doing. Now the behind layer you can obviously put underneath the faces layer behind it. On the eye, and there you go. Now you have that outline done, and it's looking pretty slick too. In fact, if you show and hide that layer, you can see it's filling in our gaps, and I'll zoom in so you can see that. Watch those get filled right in a nice solid way. Now we're at step 32, and it's gradient time basically. What I did here is, you can see I get sort of those extra shadow layers selected when I try and select these boxes now. So I just shift select all of those and do a Control 3 and hide them so you don't see those shadows anymore. Here with our first face showing, the tutorial is pretty specific about how we handle these gradients, so let's just follow it verbatim. We're going to turn on a gradient, a linear. And once it's linear, we're going to put in 6 points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and in the following colors. Double click on my first color, and in this options I'm going to turn to Web RGB because he gives us hex values. Hex value is as follows: 0C, B0, F0. Hit enter, and that's at 0%. Our next color will be 29 CAFE, and that should be at 48%. The next color is 0A AE, FF. And that is at 50%. Our next color is 27C8FD. That's at 77%. Followed up by 0EB1F1. And the way you can do that in CS4 is just grab the gradient tool, and from the top left of the squares to the bottom right, you get the gradient that you're looking for. Now, at risk of putting you to sleep, I'm going to speed through the red gradient. As you can see here, it's basically pretty similar. You go with the same degree. And the whole concept is you get light and then immediately back to dark again, and I probably went a little bit too light there. I'll let you see. That's a little bit brighter than we want, and that's fine. The gradient on the third color is even easier. Yellow to a slightly darker yellow, and you're all set. And then Control-Alt-3 will show all of our shadows again. Now at this point we're going to scale everything down, so with this Control-G, Group, Object, Transform, and we're going to scale it. It's going to be 85% of its original size. Now we're going to give this thing a background. So I'm hiding pretty much all my layers. Click once with our rectangle tool, and we're going to make a 2000 by 2000 pixel background. And don't worry, it's not that color. Instead, the color for this is going to be 7DD6EA. And I'll paste that in there. Here I like to use the align command and just snap that to the middle, in the middle. And we can put this on the behind layer, so drag that down there. Now Control-2 or Command-2 will lock that. Once you got that background done, we're pretty much on the home stretch. So select the ellipse tool, which is where your rectangle tool is. Click once. We're going to make a 480 by 480 pixel white circle. I even center both of those. And let's take the Rubik's Cube and center those as well. I love this align palette at the top here. So we're going to go to Effect, Distort and Transform, and Zigzag, which is an interesting name for an effect. It's going to be 32. We're going to make it relative. 32%. And its ridges per segment, we're going to crank up to 60. Corner, and click on Preview, and you can see what that did there. Now I Control-2 that too. Might as well lock it down. And we're adding the flag to this, that kind of signature flag that we saw. So that's a pen tool job. And a little bit beyond the edge, we're going to click once. Holding down Shift, I'll click again. Then I'll drag to bend that. Then I'll Shift click again over towards the middle of our blue section. And one more time out around the edge. And we'll click and drag that. And so you can see what I'm doing. I'll turn on the stroke and make it kind of big for you. So different color, how about green? We haven't used that yet. So you can see the line I drew there. Once you have that line drawn out, do a Control-C and a Control-F. And holding down Shift on your keyboard, tap down 3 times. Now basically what that is 10 pixels as opposed to 1. When you're using pixel units and you tap on the keyboard, you're moving 1 pixel at a time. Holding down Shift basically magnifies that. It makes it 10 pixels. So once you've got that middle line done, you're going to Control-C, Control-F again, and then Shift and tap, tap, tap. Now with these 2 lines selected, I'm going to change this so we can see a little bit better here. With these 2 lines selected, we're going to use the Direct Selection tool and just click on the ends. One end and then the other end. You can see how it highlights. Shift click on that, and we're going to do a Control J and join those together. Same thing with the other end. Click, Shift click, Control J. And we're leaving that sort of middle line alone. In fact, you can take that middle line and do a Control 3 to hide it. This doesn't look very flag-like being green, so we're going to fill it up with white and make it stroke black. We'll even take down the stroke to a more reasonable 2 points. And then we're going to add a little bit of a flag end to this. With the pen tool, we're going to click right in the middle of this path. It's kind of hard to see, but you'll see the little X here on the pen tool will turn into a plus sign, so we'll try and capture that when we zoom in. So there it is as a plus. Click once when it turns into the plus, and that's adding a point. And I'll change the highlight color so you can see this, so we'll go to gold. And you can see the point that we created here with the pen tool. You can see it even turns into a minus sign, so you can remove it if you want. Now once you have that created, you can use that direct select tool and tap that right in with the shift button on your keyboard. You can see with the shift and the arrows we get that flag-like end. In fact, we're also going to take this line here and make it not so straight, so it's got a little bit more of a flag feel to it, a little bit more curved. Now we're going to Control Alt 3 and show that line that we were hiding before. I'm also going to do a Control Shift right bracket on the keyboard. Right bracket's right above the Enter button. And you can see that line that we drew up before. We're going to type right over it. So we're going to type right over this line. Grab your text tool and put in a little message. How about I love vectors? The bomb? There is no reason for me to do that. I just had to. Here you can select some sort of fun font. I'm going to do chunk 5. You can scale it up, you can see here. And with Control T, you can look at the character palette. Now that you have the character palette shown, you're going to adjust the baseline shift of this text. And I just click in here and use the down arrow until it's hitting right about the middle. We'll adjust this line a little bit more so it's more in line with that eye. I'm just using the direct select tool to accomplish this. Tapping on the keyboard with the arrow keys. We'll scale this down a bit so get some room on the right hand side. And now it's just finishing touches on the flag and we're out the door. Let's create an oval. 80 pixels by 32. Just use the eyedropper and soak up the flag look, if you will. Position that right at the edge of the flag. And use Control and the left bracket to put it behind. So you can see what we did there. We'll even squish that a bit so it looks a little bit more authentic. Yeah, that's good. And with our shadow, and we're going to add a little bit of a shadow to the flag. So select our flag. We're actually going to move that over so it's in a little bit more. And I just do a Control C, Control F. Drag that down and to the right. And we're going to Shift X, flip its colors. For transparency, we're going to put it on multiply mode. And then we're going to start tapping down that opacity till it looks good and convincing. And offset that Control left bracket will put it behind the flag. And you have a little bit of an edge here that you don't want, so you just use your direct selection tool and wrangle in that edge. You can see we'll move it here. And that about does it. That is a vector Rubik's Cube in Adobe Illustrator. And check the time. Hopefully we beat that 90-minute estimate. I hope you enjoyed it. This is a really cool looking cube, and when you think about the Pathfinder, you think about the shading, the shadows, everything that we did. There's a lot of useful things in here that'll help you with all your other Illustrator techniques. So enjoy and keep designing.